Okay, continuing with 1.1.3 from the past exams for algebra, we got a square root attached to our problem. So what we need to do for this problem is to square both sides of the equation. So what you should notice and take note of when doing this problem is that the square root of any number a times the square root of any number a is equals to itself, just a. The square roots cancel off. Okay, so here you got 2x plus 3 as a result of timesing square root of 2x plus 3 by itself and the square root falling away. X times x is x squared. And what we do is we gather all the terms onto one side and equate it to 0. After you do that, we can then factorize our equation and equate both brackets to 0 and solve for x. We get, in this case, when x plus 1 equals 0, x has to be minus 1 to give us 0. When x minus 3 is equal to 0, x has to be 3 to make this become 0. Okay. So far, so good. Okay, so the next problem we're dealing with here is dealing with exponent laws. Okay. So whenever you're dealing with exponents, the first thing you would want to do is to find a common base. So what is a base? So say I got ax squared. Okay, this is known as the exponent. The a, or some number a, is known as a coefficient, and x is the base. Okay, so in this case here, 9x, I can write it in terms of 3. So in this case, 9 can be rewritten as 3 squared. Right. Another thing you need to know about exponent laws is that x to the power m, okay, x to the power m raised to a power n is equals to x to the power m n. So you're just going to take this exponent, times it by that exponent, and that should help you to solve this portion. So let's look at the solution together. Okay, so 9 can be rewritten as 3 squared, right? And so 3 squared will become, raised to the x will become 3 to the power 2x, because 2 times x gives you 2x. Okay, we take the 4 times 3 to the x on one side and factorize 3 to the x out, and you'll get 3 to the x times 3 to the x minus 4 equals 0. 3 to the power x cannot equal to 0. Right? If you equate the first bracket, this bracket here, to 0, it cannot equal to 0. 3 raised to any power is always greater than 0. Okay, and 3 to the power x equals 4 can be solved using natural logarithms. Okay. Okay, moving on. We're going on to the next section, and that involves simultaneous equations. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to label one equation 1, label the other equation 2, and you're going to make a third equation in terms of the subject either being x or y. In this case, you do not have to make a third equation because there's already one equation in terms of just x equals to something in terms of just y. Okay, so over here we're going to make x equal to 2y, since it's the easiest formula, be the subject of the formula, which we will substitute all the way into here, into this equation number 2. Okay, so wherever I see x, I'm going to replace it with 2y, and then I'm going to solve for y. Right? So question 1.2, here's our two equations, and wherever we add x, we replaced it with 2y. And so what we did next here was find LCD. Right. So by multiplying everything out and isolating and separating our variables, we get minus 4 plus y squared equals 3y. And notice now that it's starting to look like a quadratic equation. So it's quadratic. Because it's quadratic, we know two techniques already on how to solve such a problem. Alright, so that's either by factorization or by the quadratic formula. So here we get y minus 4, y plus 1, and so therefore y is equals to 4 and y equals to minus 1. But that doesn't solve our problem. It asks us to solve simultaneously for both x and y. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this y, sub it back into the easiest equation here and solve for x. And this is the result we get. If you sub in y, you can use your calculators. You'll see you get 8 and minus 2. Okay, and last but not least, we're down to an inequality. We got the inequality 2 to the minus x into x plus 4 is less than equals to 0. So firstly, you'll sketch your parabola. Okay, once your parabola has been sketched, usually we know that there'll be one solution because it's less than or equal to 0. But here in the case that where we have 2 to the minus x, we cannot say that. Okay, so just make a note of that. We cannot say that we're going to have one solution because we note that 2 to the minus x is always positive, but this is less than or equal to 0. Right, so for this inequality to hold true, we need to remember that 2 to the minus x is greater than 0. Right, whilst this remains less than or equal to 0. Right, because if you look at this function, it's the inverse of the exponential function. You'll see that it's always greater than 0. Okay. Or you can plug in any value for x and see your value is greater than 0. And so looking at the solution, we see that 2 to the minus x is greater than 0 for all real values, and x plus 4 is less than or equal to 0, therefore x is less than or equals to minus 4. And that is that for today. And so I hope this was a good help to everybody. And if there is a section that you would like me to teach, please drop me a comment in the comment section below and like and subscribe. Okay.